Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope some of y'all have slid over here from the podcast. Now, as a sponsor of my own podcast with this YouTube channel, I want to state that I'm going to try to keep this one clean and hopefully safe for work for some of y'all out there. But right away, let's not cut any corners. Let's get straight into it. So, a lot of things a lot of young men don't know about women and dating until it's too late or until they get burned a bunch of times is, it's hard to narrow down. There's so many because obviously not all men are going to accept or be able to take the red pill as far as the truth, as far as knowing that they are getting the short end of the stick, that solipsism and love, the different types of love and sacrificial love and all that other stuff. A lot of men aren't going to be able to stomach that. They still want to live in this world that's sold to them on TV and movies, and their parents and traditionalists and all these other people that will tell them to be a battery. The reason the red pill is such a relevant reference for the manosphere is because in the movie it referenced that human beings were the batteries for these machines. They were utilities to be used until they were no longer useful and thrown out. And the reference is that considering that men are human doings, they are utilities, they are providers and protectors, the men are always credited for their actions, for the purpose that they have, for the battery that they are, for the women in society. But nobody ever wants to talk about the men and their needs. That's why there's so many sexless marriages out here. I mean, most marriages after a particular time have no intimacy, and a lot of people are gonna be, well, because the man is not being romantic and not trying to win the woman. The man buying men buying $300,000 homes, redoing the kitchen in those homes, taking out second mortgages sometimes to refurbish the home to the woman's liking, buying her a separate vehicle when she's an unemployed housewife and she has a $40,000 van with TVs in the seats. Those are the ways that men try to win women. And maybe we're wrong in that. Maybe we need to stop buying y'all's love or women's love and all that. But before they get to that point to where you're suckering down and spending $500K on a woman in your family, I'm not saying having kids is wrong or anything like that, but before you do those things, as a young man, you'd like to date. You'd like to sleep around. Let's be 100% real. Let's keep it a buck. You'd like to experience life. And a lot of young men, myself included, young me, not me right now, but younger me, was left out. As a teen, I was left out. I wanted to get into the dating and all the other stuff that other kids my age were doing when I was a young boy. And it's something that eluded me. Teenager, same thing. It eluded me. I was on the outside looking in. I was trying to penetrate a world, literally, not just penetrating women, but it was more even that and the emotional connection to make with someone. I was trying to reach out and try to connect with other human beings, and it was just hard. And I let that get in my head. I let it convince myself that it was about, looks and physical appearance and all that other stuff. But I don't know. I'm not here to give you guys a sob story or talk about my own experience, but I think if we try and cover this in a general sense, I try to narrow it down to 5 things that I think a lot of us would like to know or would love to tell ourselves if we were able to speak with our, 11, 12, 13-year-old self, our teenage self, our even 19, 20, 22, 23-year-old selves. There's a lot of things we wish, I'm sitting here in my 30s that I wish I could tell myself. And I kind of just boiled it down to a general list of 5. So on that list, the 5th thing a lot of young men and boys need to learn about dating, because we're going to go down a cascade. The 5th thing is that men need to understand that you are not there to do anything but provide some type of use to that woman. Yeah, it's harsh, but the reason guys spend time in the quote-unquote friend zone is not because a woman genuinely values your friendship. When you're friend zoned by a woman, you're clearly providing something for her, whether you buy her food or you hang out with her, you're her emotional tampon. There is some type of utility that she's getting from you. Something. You're not there for any reason. For no reason at all, excuse me. So since you serve a purpose and you're actually there serving a purpose, being a utility in her life, like I just explained to and alluded to before, that's why you're there. So as a young man, you should honestly not put into anybody that's not going to put back into you. You should value yourself. And that's going to lead me into the fourth thing. The fourth thing that a lot of young men and boys need to know about dating and women is that you need to value your time and your, or I guess you would say, your sexual escapades. Yourself. Value your time, value your genetics, i.e., the stuff that comes, the baby making pattern. I'll try to keep it PG. But value yourself. Value your time. So many men, we get so thirsty through the void of sexual frustration that we just throw it around and we make rash, emotional-based, destructive, and often life-ruining decisions at an early age because we're chasing something and we feel left out. So you're like, well, at least I'm getting sex. So when you do get sex, or when you go through dry spells and then you go to hit the times where you actually get sex, you're out here. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I was out here tagging shit raw. Excuse my language, tagging stuff raw. Didn't care. Because I was like, I had a scarcity mindset. I was like, this may never happen again, so I might as well enjoy the full experience and not wear protection, which is a really, 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 really dumb decision. And I came out clean. No STDs, honestly. So I came out clean in two ways. I didn't have children, and I didn't catch STDs in my, when I finally did start dipping into the pot of the quote-unquote normal society. The third thing a lot of men and young boys need to realize is that you have to be multi-layered. It's not about being nice. Women can get men by simply being nice, kind, feminine. That's just how it works for them, but it does not work like that for you. As a man, you need to realize that you have to be multi-layered, work on your personality, read, broaden your horizon, expand on the things you know, expand on your own personal foundation. Because as men, we need to be rich, good-looking, and wealthy. Keep your knowledge base up. Learn how to communicate with people. Now, if your inner group of friends doesn't expand your mind, you need to get a new circle of friends. Not particularly replace the ones you have, but you need to expand your circle. You need to look around the circle of people that you're with and find inspiration. I'm not on no PUA shit, but excuse my language again. I'm just going to have to. This is still safe for work. I'm trying to keep it kind of clean, but yeah, you need to expand your circle if you're not inspired by the people you're surrounded with. Because you need to be inspired by them. You need to build with them and grow with the people you're around, especially if they're professional acquaintances. So know that. Number 2, because we're boiling it down here. I was trying to do this in 10 minutes or less. The second thing a lot of men need to know is that I got cut off. My bad. Still going to do this uncut and raw, so it's just going to come up like this. Like I said, I'm at under 10 videos, so it is what it is. But the second thing men need to know about dating and women and girls and all that stuff, young men and young boys, is that right now is not going to be the end of your life. Not succeeding with women at this point in time will not be the end of your life. Even if you are able to go through your 20s and be relatively unsuccessful with women. Now, by all means, get out there, put in the work, actually try and date, because a lot of men who are sexually frustrated actually don't even put in any work. They don't try to date. They're not doing any of the legwork. You do have to put some effort in, and that's just going to be required. And that's going to tie into the first thing, the number one thing I wish I knew, but it's going to tie into that. And you have to know that you cannot idly stand by and wait for something to fall into your lap. I think a lot of people's perception of the dating market and women and all that stuff comes from women. We have a gynocentric culture. So therefore, only one perspective is being told. So a lot of men are expecting relationships and happiness to fall into their lap because that's just female nature. That's what women expect life to be for them. That's why they don't like emotional men, emotionally weak men, vulnerable men, because they are vulnerable, emotional, and weak. They can't have a man that's that. So understand that it's going to be hard times. Your emotions are turned up to 1,000 right now. You're very young, or you're going to be a preteen soon, or if you're not a preteen in your early 20s, and all your shit, your testosterone, all of it's in the driver's seat. Your logical thinking mind is not in the driver's seat right now if you're a young man. And that's okay. But please acknowledge it. Don't be rash. Don't do stupid shit like I talked about with number 3 and raw dogging and all that other stuff. Relax. It is not the end of the world. I know it can feel like. I can tell you from experience, it can feel like having everybody around you go to a party and you're not invited to that party, but yet you have to live next door and hear this party going on overnight, and you hear the music and you hear the romps that are going on in the different bedrooms of the home, and you see the people throwing up outside that had a blast at the party, or what you perceive to be as a blast. But what you don't notice is people being thrown out of the back door with kids, and the drama and garbage that comes from the train wrecks of what people call relationships these days. So that's another thing. And while keeping that same energy and talking how the society is gynocentric, so most people's viewpoint of dating and relationships is from the woman's perspective. But from a man's perspective, these are the things we need to know. We need to know that we have to be our best selves. We have to be patient, and we have to put in the actual groundwork. And the number one thing that I wish I knew, and I want young men and boys to know about dating and relationships and women, is that your looks mean more than almost anything. Looks effing matter more than anything. I know there are girls out there who date extra regular dudes or even unattractive dudes, but anomalies do not make the rule. And in fact, to me, they confirm the rule. Because for the most part, all these chicks, average and above, all they care about is looks. And if you're not great looking in the face, the gym. We've got to get to the gym. We've got to put some muscle on. And remember, the gym is only for putting on muscle, because 80% of fitness is diet. So your diet, if you're a young man and you're a little chunky, well, guess what? You're young. You can get that weight off quick. Let's start eating right. Let's look into things like keto, low carb cycling. There are very inexpensive diets out here. Not everybody's going to be able to follow keto to the T. So I would say don't go on keto, but I would say go on low carb, no carb, carb cycle. Carb cycle is inexpensive. I carb cycled off of Walmart, and I carb cycled strict. When I carb cycle strict, I can drop like 30 pounds in 2 months, 15 pounds a month. So it's doable. And I was older when I did this. And I'm doing like the same thing, but not carb cycling. I'm not doing any carbs at all because I'm a bit older now. But trust me, carb cycling works. Look up a diet that's going to work for you. Work on getting those abs. I mean, if you're somewhere where you don't have a job and you're a young man, you can jump on some performance enhancers. I wouldn't say just do straight up steroids, but if you have some way to get on some any type of what's it called? Testosterone, low dosages, I would say microdose testosterone if you're a very young man, because that shit's going to turn your endocrine system upside down if you overdo it and then you don't cycle off the right way. Now, I'm not saying take steroids, but look, at the end of the day, the point is the number one thing that men and young boys need to understand, young men and young boys, and I wish I knew, is that your looks mean more than anything to these women out here. They're very shallow. All this talk about how shallow people are is women that are getting old or to get a little bit fat, and they deal with these quote unquote, top 1% males who looks mean everything to them. These top 1% males, they're the top 1%. Every woman wants them. So they're able to select from the female top 1%. So the average woman that 1% male may sleep with, if he's having a bad night, he has the option of sleeping with, a 7, a 6, a 5, when he can't get his 10 to sleep with him. So these men are getting, coitus on a daily basis. Because when Mrs. 10 doesn't give him none, he calls Mrs. 8. Mrs. 8 is on some BS, calls Mrs. 7. Mrs. 6, 5, 4, and 3. Hey, they're hideous, but hey, he'll sleep down to that level in order to have sex on a daily basis. That's just how it works when you're in that top level of man. So women are projecting the shallowness of that top 1% onto all men. But ultimately, it's women that are shallow because they want that Christian Grey. There's no female Christian Grey in the folklore of fantasy or fiction or anything like that. No men are giving a shit whether or not there's some wealthy woman out there for us. Most men want a kind and feminine woman. That's it. But unfortunately, most of these women, even if they are kind and feminine, you better be good looking, because competition is out there. Male thirst is at an all-time high. Like, when I was young, it was bad, but what you young men are dealing with right now is insane. The male thirst is insane. So you have to be on top of your game. 100%. Do whatever you can to get abs. Sculpt your shoulders and arms and chest, and make sure you're not skipping leg day. Leg day should be 2 or 3 times a week. Get in there, hit the weights while you're young. Because if you're not, the best in the face, because I definitely wasn't, and I'm not right now, that's the only angle you got to improve your physique and your physical looks. Because your physical looks is all that matters. You really don't need much game. Now, you need to work on your mouthpiece, and there's some PUAs and dating coaches that can help you with that stuff, and pheromone soap. You go to them for that, but I just wanted to talk about these 5 things that I wish young men knew. Anyway, if you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. And I will be continuing my content. My attempt is to cover angles that I don't think are covered in the manosphere. So please stick around. I'm sure the content will get better. It's not the best right now, but, it is what it is for the time being. Anyway, I appreciate y'all coming through. That was my list. And if y'all have something else to add in the comments, please leave it down below. And if you got something that, if you want to shit on it, go ahead and shit on it. Leave your comment down below. Just hit that like button, even if you didn't like it. Rate the video and share it if you really liked it. So that's all I already got for now. See y'all in a future video, boys. Check out the podcast on the audio platforms available below and in the description box of the actual YouTube channel. I'm out.